Start
Yep, you're offline
recording.
now.
Yep, I should be good now, right?
Yep, you're up. There you
All
go.
right, okay, here we go. All right, welcome again to a third attempt at the End of Day Vampire Show. We got Big Chon here. Say what's up, Chon.
Hey guys, how's it going tonight?
Dude, first of all, how was your day at the beach, man?
It was great. Thanks for asking. I haven't been there all summer, and I just realized I had been basically inside of all of August. I didn't have any kind of a tan happening, almost like a farmer's tan at best. So I needed a day to get out to the beach there, and it was great. I was in the Bayside. It was just absolutely beautiful. Not sunny, cool. I had 2 lobster rolls. I was very happy with it, and it was just nice to be outside. I realized I had been in front of my computers for so long, so it was a good time, and kind of feel a little bit more recharged after doing it. So that's good.
Nice, awesome, good. Yeah, I need a beach day myself. All right, so let's dig right into this exciting, not so exciting price action day. Okay, so let's try this one more time. Frustrating. Okay, so let's bring out. All right, so I'm going to start back here. This is the main chart that I have been using in order to do most of my calls for the last few days, right? As I tried to point out earlier, here's your Ichi cloud. This is my Ichi chart right here. I pointed out this bouncing around. I mean, I pretty much called all of this exactly. This particular pump went a little bit higher. I called this, that with the mysterious wink tether pump that we had. This was the exchanges defending the last dump possibility. Now we've come over. Listen, I called this bottom perfect. I called this one almost perfect, and I knew this was coming up here. I said I said this has got to break this line before it turns over. So we've been waiting for this, right? We've been waiting for this action to happen, and a lot of that was over here. This was reflected in my particular price action, and it's kind of hard to predict where the price will end up at the RSI. If you guys go back and you look at my chat, you can see, and I'm pissed at myself because I actually said, hey, I'm going to put my stop loss up at 65.50. I eventually moved it to 65.80. I just showed that over on my, let's go ahead. Here's my, all right there. So here is my trade setup right now. So I did move this over to 65.80 for my stop loss. Now my stop loss did not get hit. Right, my stop loss did not get hit. My averaged in price is right about 65.20, so I'm a little positive on the positive side of this trade. I didn't see this trade really going much higher. I had these 2 resistances. You guys have seen this. Now, it's hard to correlate the RSI action with the price action. I feel I'm getting better at it, but I'm still not like super good at it. So this did go up a little bit higher in the chat in our VIP area. I was like, hey, this has got to go up here. It's got to get over that line. It's got to fold back over. I still feel, right, based on purely just the, hold on a second. I still feel based purely on this charting structure right here, right? That this thing should just fall out of the damn sky. I mean, this has followed the pattern exactly. In fact, if you look at our RSI, look at our Stoke pattern. Now, if you pull up even our Stoke pattern down here, look at our Stoke pattern. Our Stoke pattern almost plays this out perfect also. See, came down, got a little bounce, came down, got a little bounce. It did it again. Where's that other bear time it did it? So it's done it a couple times where it'll fall down here into this bear on the bearish action, and it'll make another bounce, a really low bounce, right? Now, this just sets you up for a much worse scenario here, right? So this is setting you up for a deeper fall because the Stoke can bottom out. Now, the Stoke did come all the way down here on that last previous little fall we had. It poked the line and it pulled back up, and you got the reversal. But we are now set up into a position to where this can possibly, let me kind of organize this a little bit better. We're set up right now in a situation to where I feel the RSI is a little bit, it's at a critical point right now. We're under 50, right? I mean, we're just teetering here on the danger zone. And if you guys go ahead and you just pop a little line, you see 1, this 2, 3, 4, 5, anything under here, and you'll look, I got the boxes. The boxes are all wrapped around them. You've got your 2 separate lines right there that correlate the price action. And if you go back, then the other thing I want to dig in here and point out is the last time this particular thing happened, look, we came down, and you see this candle structure here, and I was calling this out on our main chat, right? I was calling this out. I said, hey, I'm pretty sure it was this one. Oh, it was in the members area. So in the members area, I said, hey, and in fact, I called it out on the chat on last night. I said, hey, this is setting up as a bearish inside bar candle, right? So look at this right here. This is a bearish inside bar. And if you go back and you checked previously, you made the same exact bearish inside bar. So there's your bearish inside bar. You then had 2 candles that came up. It did die. Look at how this all plays out, this cup system. Look at this cup right here with the little, and then it just falls out. Look at the cup came down here. Now look at the swooping 30 underneath the Tekken. You got the 7 on top, right? And the price now, the little bit different here is this price action is above the 7 here, where it really didn't get above the 7 over here, right? So that is a little bit different. It's a little more bullish than it was here, right? So if you look at this, this came up wing-tipped and then dumped, wing-tipped out and then dumped. And I'm going to show you the difference. So here is your different pattern setups. This is a bearish inside bar without a pin bar, and then it just fells out, right? This kind of looks very similar. Look at the spinning top right here. Let me zoom in so you can get a little bit better look at this thing, right? So there we go. So check it out. You got almost a spinning top, definitely a spinning top, and then you've got this candle right here. Now, this looks very similar to an inside bar, a bearish fakie without a pin bar fall. Now, if you went previously back to the previous fallout time, right, which is right here, this one did a bearish one with a pin bar. So this did, here's your inside bar, right? This did the inside bar, which is bearish. Then it did the pin bar, and then it just died, right? So this was a very similar setup. Now, let's look at the top candle. Kind of, this gave a little bit more of a bearish symbol right there than we had over on the price action we're defending right now. Now, this is a pretty damn good wick, right? I wouldn't call it shooting starish because this has got a little too much of the shadow on the bottom side, right? But now, I want to go over a couple things really quick. What makes this different from this? This setup right here was a 75, 7600. Okay, there was no fear at this point. And the action that this showed was typical TA action of a downward trend. This was just a continuation trend of a downtrend to eventually find a bottom, right? Now, we've done almost exactly the same action down to this very same plateau. We just haven't broken through yet, right? We haven't got the fallout. The difference is that the 6,000 line is still a psychological barrier to crypto. It's a psychological barrier to the miners. It's a psychological barrier to the exchanges. It's a psychological barrier to you and me and all of us, right? And all of us know that if this does fall down to the 4,000, 4,800, 4,900, everybody and their mother is going to be like, I told you so. And CBNC is going to go on the news. They're going to say, I told you so. Crypto's and everybody's going to, you're an idiot for investing in crypto. And, none of us really want that, right? None of us want that. But at the same time, that's just got to be what happens. That's kind of the natural progression of the bubble, and that's what we had. We had a bubble. So here, the difference between this falling out here and this falling out here is very simple. There was no one defending this position. There was no mysterious $400 million tether pump at 7,600. There was no mysterious tether pump up here at 7,500. There was no mysterious tether pump up here at 8,000, right? The mysterious tether pumps always come in the $6,000 range. Why is it a tether needs to get pumped at 57 to 6,400? What's the deal? Why do people need to, when the market is crashing, what do we need Tether for? Right? I mean, that doesn't make any sense. You know, I mean, they're just mysteriously pumping out Tether when people are losing their ass. And we've talked about this in a couple of our shows. And I feel that the only difference right now that scares me to going short as hard as I can here, and I'm talking as hard as I can here, is two things. We have the exchanges that have proven to us time and time again that they will do no matter what it takes to defend the 6,000 line. Mm-hmm. They will do no matter what it takes. And that, I feel, is first and foremost one of the most important things that we need to understand in crypto is the manipulation. And the pump that we got, the little pump we got today, maybe from the SEC news, I feel we got a little bit of a pump from that today. And for what? I don't know what people are getting excited about, because unless in the last 24 hours that crypto market has magically grown to $1 trillion and or the manipulation has stopped, what is there to reconsider with the SEC? There's nothing. There's nothing. The two main concerns were manipulation and the size of the market, right? You show me where either one of those has changed in the last 24 hours. And I don't even understand the hopeism of those tweets that went out. And God bless you for being hopeful for that, but there's absolutely nothing there. When I look at this just says fucking die, right? Bearish cross, bearish cross. I mean, this whole thing says we have one more major leg down, at least one more major leg down. But not if the exchanges can help it. Not if the exchanges can stand up and just print as much Tether as they want and defend this line with everything they've got. And that's the only reason I just don't open up the most insanely high leverage short right now, because I know that I'm competing against someone who can print free money out of thin air. And that for me is something I just can't compete with. Right? It's just something I don't have the ability to compete with. And if it's like my targeting is on point, right? My targeting is on point. I feel that the more I get into crypto, the more I feel I'm understanding and crawling inside of the mind of the people who are manipulating the market. And the better that I can understand what they're thinking, the better I can trace and retrace and cognitively predict the price action and where it's going. Right? So that being said, I don't know where we're going. Because this thing should fall out of the damn sky. Let's hand it over to Chonis here and see what the hell he's got to think about this. All right, Chon, your screen is up, buddy.
Oh my God! On that note, right? On that inspiring note, I love your word hopeism. That's great. That's great, because I think that's what the market's looking for right now. We're kind of clutching at straws to find something to kind of grasp onto, some bullish news to kind of shine a light into this market that almost feels like this time more than anything we've experienced through the winter, going into the spring, the early part of the summer. It almost feels like right now we're at a very unique moment in crypto and a lot of people, and we kind of see it in some of the interactions we get on Twitter and whatnot, is people are really discouraged with what the market has kind of handed them. And we had seen periods in the past where some sideways Bitcoin price action has initiated a lot of stability in the alts, and they have had a chance to run, but not this time. Save a couple here and there, and save a couple, nice bounces here and there that, you just had to take profit on because they were so good in such a short amount of time. And we're in that market right now where anytime, a trader can get profit, they're going to take those profits off the table, because we're still in this, as Vamp said, this kind of long drawn out downtrend as we continue to unwind from our parabolic move. So I can talk about a few things that I'm watching here. For starters, we talk about like why we wicked out yesterday on our our bull pump, and why was it that 6,900, it varied a couple dollars from exchange to exchange. Remember, this also coincided right with our BitMEX going down for maintenance. To the minute we had that bull pump come through.
Shady.
I know, nothing to see here, you know, don't mind that. But hey, approve our ETF, right? Because we're just a very stable and adequate market. No, I mean, it clearly shows one very obvious thing, that in this low volume environment, a very few amount of people control a very large quantity of Bitcoin. And it doesn't take a lot of them, especially using leverage, to make a big bet and make a real big price move that goes across the board. And what we saw from that big price move is it was unsustainable. We had that really nasty wick, especially on our daily chart, but we still maintain and keep holding this GD $64 to $6,500 area. Now, we've been channeling for quite some time here, and we clearly see that our resistance line actually coincides with our major support lines, the same kind of vector there that held our support back in the end of June. And we're seeing that consistent here, here, here. And now what was once support that actually gave us a really nice July bounce has acted as resistance ever since. And this was a major attempt to break it. Now, when we tend to touch a major resistance for the very first time, or when we tend to touch a major support for the very first time, we tend to basically wick out either oversold or a little overbought. We expect that, but if we can get another test, another attempt to break or at least touch this upper resistance line, it's a good chance we might be able to break through, at least with the wick there. Now we can see our MA200 on our 4-hour has still tilting down, and ever since we were able to break bearish from it, had a double back test rejection here, that is held, and we've yet to even come close to touching it. So even if we are able to break our upper resistance here, we still have our MA200 to contend with on our 4-hour chart. I've been watching this channel on the RSI, and Matt mentioned the RSI earlier, and how it kind of it's setting up, almost looking to kind of fall out of the sky, if you will. And what we're looking at here is an example where we've been channeling for quite some time. And, you know, we have a little wick here on the bottom, and we'll be really accurate in terms of what we're holding here. And you clearly see two things. When we have bounced on our bottom support line, it's held, and we've been able to drift up to our top resistance line, and that has kind of shown the extent of any bullish moves we've had. This time we're actually finding resistance concurrently on our middle channel line there, and that's, you know, from a bullish standpoint, that's a little discouraging, because the last time we were able to, after the first resistance, have a quick comeback and flow higher. Now our resistance is pretty solid right there, so we can't get up here until we break here, and we're clearly having a problem trying to even break our middle resistance there. But we are right at our 50 plus area there. So as long as we're able to hold above 50 on as many time frames as we can, but especially as you move higher, that's very important. Our MACD is still bullishly positive, but we still have this bearish cross that we did there. So at least we're above the zero line there. We were below all of August. So we've been able, through a lot of this sideways price action, to kind of get a lot of our bearishness from our indicators out of there. But our MAs and EMAs are just pegged flatline here. Part of them are holding the support, and part of them are acting as resistance. And go to the daily chart here and just take a quick look at what we can close from yesterday. And you can kind of see that we're finding we actually to just close above our center line here, and we're right on it right now. And what's holding our support, I see, is our EMA 12. I like to use the 12 and the 26 and the 55 and the 21 of my EMA. So after having resistance holding support, we are finding support there, and that is our good first step, because our 26 I would consider as our next bullish break higher resistance. That puts us right around 6620, and then from there it goes up to 6800, which is we have to battle with our EMA 55. And the reason why our EMA 55 is so important is you clearly see how that's where it stopped Bitcoin in its tracks yesterday, when we had, or the day before, when we actually had that nice bullish candle there. We were stopped out right when we hit our 55. So clearly that is major resistance on the daily chart, and if it was going to be tested again, the significance of how it actually reacts to that EMA when it is tested is very important. Can we break through? Remember, after that, we have several more EMAs and MAs to contend with. So everything seems to be lining up with something bigger happening. Now, when can we really determine when it's going to happen? That's why I like to bring up my Bollinger Bands here, because I'm waiting to see how tight our daily chart, our daily BBs can get. Now, look how much tighter they're getting from where we were just about a week ago. We were so wide a week ago, so very big, but now we're getting tighter and tighter. And this is going to show how soon a larger move is potentially in play. We can see on the 4-hour how we've been so tight for so long. And I always say about in the 4-hour, we're seeing a trend where if we do break bullish or bearish outside of our upper or lower boundary, we only seem to be outside for just a candle. That still remains. So we're finding support above our middle BB. If we do test our upper BB, 66.83, if we break through, remember, it becomes overbought, and we see we could only last for about a week or so. And then you see where our overall major resistance in the 4-hour MA200 is. So once again, another show where we're talking about the same price point over and over again, but because of all the sideways price action, our indicators have allowed themselves to level out. And I think what we're going to see next is some sort of a fanning pattern, where if we break bullish or bearish, it's going to be a bigger move, and you're going to see all our EMAs and MOs that are flat right now begin to fan out, and that's going to kind of set the next trend in play. We've talked so much about what we're looking at short term, near term, and long term, but everything is so tight in this area here that we're just expecting, because we had this such a quick, it took us 2 weeks to drop from 8,500 back down to like 6,000. It's acceptable to have this amount of sideways price action because of this major move. But now that we're resetting everything, it's only a matter of time, sooner time than later, I assume, before the next trajectory of Bitcoin is set into play. And last thing I want to say about the manipulation you brought up, and it's so true. If this is the market we're in now, where retail is pretty much either non-existence or just doesn't have the play they used to have, then we're just subjects to the BitMEXs and the big quick players. And how long can they keep this tether shit up before it just runs out? Either they just can't print any more funny money, or the market has just said enough with this and we're just done. And if the market can't defend, if the exchanges can't defend, and if the miners can't defend 6K, then we're in a completely new paradigm in Bitcoin, the alts, and crypto in general. And unfortunately, we might have to go through that to come out on the other side a much more healthier and stronger market.
Yeah, no, I agree with all that. I agree. All right, so let's do a quick rundown on my charts. I know I haven't had a chance to do a quick rundown. Let's get a bunch of this stuff out of the way. All right. Get a bunch of this crap out of here. Put it all back later. All right, so just really quick, let's start out the weekly. So one of the things I want to do is I want to go over here and take a look at the weekly right here. So we're in a doji. We still got a long way to go on this weekly candle, and a couple things I want to point out here. So our top side on the weekly is 67.50. So we got a lot of topside resistance, 67.50. You see, the weekly tried to break out, got all the way up to the 7MA, 6,900, got rejected off of that weekly resistance. Clearly got rejected, got knocked right back down into place. You see, it tested the 7MA a couple times. I just want to go back and look and see through history how we've tested that and how that's played out. It's a little harder to do it on the weekly here. So it seems like it breaks through, tries to test it again, and then falls out, right? Breaks through, tries to test it again, and then this should fall out. So the weekly gives me a pretty good understanding of where we should be.
Tries to test it again.
All right, then the 3-day, let's pull it down to our 3-day. Now, on our 3-day, we had, and I want you to all be very, so this is, once again, another absolutely insanely bearish sign, right? So the pink is the 20 MA, the light blue is the 10 MA. And every time we've had a bullish nor bearish cross on this thing, it's pretty wicked at calling it, right? So here you had a bearish cross, clearly bearish. There you had a second bearish cross on the 10 and 20, called it perfect. Had a little bit of a bullish cross right here. It did go up, then it died. You had a bearish cross right here at the peak. It never let it get up a little. It just came up a little bit higher and then fell out and died. And now once again over here on the 3-day, we have another bearish cross on the 10 and the 20 on the 3-day. And you guys know one of my favorite charts to play. I have two charts that I love to play. It's the 3-day chart and the 12-hour chart. Those are, I feel, the most accurate charts in all of crypto, simply because, look, here's the longs and the shorts called by the B scalper, right? But if you also look at the TD counts here, 9, 9, came down here, didn't hit a 9 on this one, but the TD has called this long and short pretty accurately, right? I mean, it's done a really amazing job of calling these bounces. Now, the B scalper by Until did a really good job. It did call long here, so it did call long here, so this was a correct call. Now, this is a lot more sideways action than I would like to be playing, right? I still, in my mind, and by my charts, this thing needs to fall out of the freaking sky here, and I feel it'll fall out of the sky in the next couple days, and our support there is 5,800 on the 3-day. Okay, so I've registered that up on my chart. It's right here. I'll get rid of this right here because we all know. So on my 3-day chart, the 10 and 20 just did a bear cross. Your high-end resistance is 67.50, the same as the weekly. So if I do have a top target, it's 67.50 right now. My support is 63.80 and then 5,800. On the 2-day, if you come over here on the 2-day chart right here, and take a peek at the 2-day chart, we just made another bearish cross, right? So this cross did get executed, and it has crossed. This cross moves super slow. This is 100 and the 200. Now, the issue is hasn't happened. The last time this bearish cross happened was way back in 2014. So you just got to go all the way back to 2014 to kind of see that this was bearish at that point. But this is a long coming cross right here. This was a pretty long coming cross to get to this point. Now, you do have on the 2-day another bearish cross that's setting up. If you guys have been watching, here's that candle I hate. This is the damn candle I freaking hate because I honestly don't know how to play it. I don't know how to play this candle. There it is, went up. Every time I see this candle, it's bullish, right? There's the candle, went up. There's the candle, went up. I don't know how to play this candle. I need to learn how to play. There's got to be a name to this candle, right? This candle's got to have a name. Something like beat your dumb butt over the head with me candle, because it's just not bullish or bearish or anything-ish. I don't know what the hell it is, but it just beats me over the head every single time. This is my personal kryptonite. Now, one of the other things I want to point out to you guys is that we're trapped in what I call the kryptonite zone, right? Here we are. We're right back in the kryptonite zone, and we're just trapped in here and just can't get out of this sideways action. This has been going on for a long time, and it just doesn't want to fall out. Now, the difference between this price action here and the price action back here previously, okay, is that look at all the top side wicks. Count every single one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and you're working on wick number 8 right here. Look at every single one of these wicks. Right? When I look at this, this says bears are winning. Okay? This says bears are winning. That's all that says. This, when I look at this, says the price action literally is from here, $6,400 to right here, $6,143. And we've been trapped into this price action all the way along. And every time the bulls try to break out of this, they seem to get stomped right back down, right? And this, unlike this action over here, where you actually saw some winning, it was at least as they marched up, the bulls took a little bit of control, and they kept stepping it up higher and higher. Look, this is a candle. This is a bullwin candle, right? This is clearly a bullwin candle. The bulls did okay here. You know, at least there was some bullwins here before this thing just completely took off. This is just all bullish rejection on the 2-day chart. You now have that bearish cross. Let's break this down to the 1-day chart. And you see just a lot of sideways consolidation here. Now, looking at these candles, right, I'm trying to look and see if I can find any correlation with these candles with the price action. This candle right here should have been this candle right here, right? This was the breakout. This candle is this candle. This should have been the breakout moment for Bitcoin to go to the moon, and it just didn't, right? It just didn't. This was the moment. This was the true moment where this should have shot up. We should be sitting right here. This next green candle should be stacked on top of this one. We should be above these moving averages right now. But once again, just like Chon had just a great thing, the retail buyer is dead. The retail buyer is dead right now, right? And there's no retail buyers in the market right now that can organically boost this up over there. This is why I'm bullish. I'm bearish. I'm bearish because there is no retail buyers right now. Right? And I know this because I'm a retail buyer. Right? All our members are retail buyers, right? We're not big investment groups. Now, on the good note, right? You do have the 10 and the 20 down here, and they are going to cross bullish. This is a bullish setup here on the daily. So if this price action holds above 6,400 range, 6,430, 6,400, if this holds bullish here, this is a good sign. This is a possible push that'll get us that little oomph to get us out of this range right here. But this is it. This is the only thing I see. And there's 24 hours to go here to get this wick, to get this price action pushed up above this. One little hiccup, one little piece of bad FUD news, and this price action is gone, right? This is just gone. Now, the sideways action, at least when we saw fallouts here, we saw these get up. They got up a little bit, and then they show a very, a nice, you know, at least some kind of opportune candle for a turnaround, right? So they show some opportune candle for a reversal. You know, here, this hanging man, here's a good spinning top, right? Good kind of setup, know what's coming. Here I've got nothing. I've got nothing happening here. So on the daily, if I look at the daily and I look at the daily, I say this is insanely bearish because you had a very strong bear cross. In fact, this is a death cross. This is not a bear cross. This is a death cross. This is a golden cross, right? This is a golden cross right here between the 10 and the 20. So right now, it's just got to hold this price action. If all of a sudden this thing falls out, you guys will know I would not be scaling higher into my shorts right now until I broke this. I'd want to break this line right here before I added any shorts, and that goes for me too. I'm not going to just jump in any more shorts right now. I am in my short trade right now. I know where my top side is. My top side is 67.50. Because that's where I have a lot of resistance on my higher timeline. So I'm now going to have to reset a target at 67.50 for my resistance. Bam, there we go. So this is my heavy resistance right now. This is my heavy resistance point right here, right? So we're going to come that down. We're going to break that down right there. So this is my heavy resistance point right there, right? My break point to opening up more shorts is going to be, oh God, look, you know, it's not quite the wedge line because we're above this wedge line still, but to open up more shorts for me is going to have to break this 60, got to break 6,400 at this point. So 6,400 to scale in more shorts. Right? So this would be my daily play. So my daily play is to understand that, okay, this target right now is no longer valid, this higher target here. This is no longer valid. I feel if we break this, this is now going to go all the way up to here. Right? If this goes, this is going to rocket all the way up here. You're going to have a little historical, you got a little historical in here, right, where it pushed. You know, I called this. I had my resistance line. It was perfect, right? But if this puppy goes, if this baby keeps running, this is where your next test could be on a bullish run. Now, do I like that? It fits. It fits. You know, if I take, and I'm going to get rid of this because we hit that target. If I take my E wave, this E wave can completely go up to 67.50, right, before it fails. There's nothing wrong with this E wave going up there. Now, if this E wave goes up there, though, it invalidates my other chart, right? So it invalidates my, where are you at? So that invalidates numerous charts that I have. Okay, so first of all, that'll probably invalidate this because it'll give me a bull run. So this will be the first thing to go. This will say you need to go bullish. Okay, so here's my bubble chart. There's my line, right? Now I probably got to freaking adjust this damn line because this thing got pushed up here. But this is my bullish line right there, 5,300 on the 12-hour, right? Now, here's my bubble chart on my MACD, right? Now this has got a lot of room to go. This definitely has more room to go up here, and this is, you know, this thing could take another run up. This has got a lot of movement here, and I've got an alarm set right there. Let's see if we can delete this alarm. Oh, come on, get off there. Delete. All right, so I'm going to set another alarm. I'm going to set another alarm to top that right there. So there's my alarm. So I just set an alarm right there. So I have an alarm set now on my my MACD because I want to know if I break this again. If I break this again, I know I need to really keep an eye on this because this is going to go up. And then once again, you should have an alarm set on your 12-hour MACD. I would have an alarm set on my 12-hour MACD probably right about here. Right? I would have my alarm set on my 12-hour MACD right under the 3.5 range on my 12-hour. And I use the standard settings. So these are the two alarms that I would have set up, right, on my MACD charts. Then your trade for your, you know, your, once again, then let's set an alarm for here, and we're going to set that alarm probably right there. Okay, so I've got a 48. This will give me plenty of time. Now, how I play this on a bull run, right? How I play this on a bull run is I watch this, and as this thing gets up here and trips my alarm, I open up a long trade. That's what I do. I just open up a long trade, and I you know, and that's just a smart play is for this to get up here, because if this breaks this line, usually it just takes off. Now that didn't count what we just had with the 100 million tether that were pumped in there. But looking at this, I would set my alarm line right at about the 49 range, just so if, hey, all of a sudden your alarm goes off, oh crap, what was that? Vamp said you should get into a long trade, okay? And or be scaling out of your shorts at that time, right? And not the shorts that Chonis wears to the beach. Okay, so, and now let's go down here. And let's kind of take a look at our other chart. Let's see what we got here. You know, so your Stoke just rolled over on you. Your RSI is trying to roll over on you. If all of this keeps playing out, this is going to play out exactly like my charts expect. Right, there's my alarm set. So I do have my alarm set over here on my other chart. So I do have my alarm set a little higher here. I have my alarm set up here at 53.45. So I have that on the 12 hour, 53.45 to break this. Right, it's a little more generous. I gave a little more generous of a line over here. So you can adjust. You can have a couple alarms set up just in case this thing breaks north. Now remember, each this is Binance. Okay, so that other chart might not be Binance, but you know every exchange is different. So go and find your lines, find where you need to put your alarms, so you guys can set your alarms up. Right now, this is kind of starting to play out like I called. Let's see what happens here over the next. I would say 2 to 3, and let's go down and let me do this. Let me finish this up here for everybody. All right, so all right, here's our chart. Where's our notes? Where's my damn notes? There's my notes. Let's do our chart here, and then we're gonna turn it over to Chon one more time. Okay. All right, so. All right, and all right, so there's the daily. Nothing I can say on the candles. Nothing I can. All right, so on the daily, we're just gonna go down here. In the daily, we're gonna say for bull cross 1020 MA coming, right? We're just going to put possible, okay? It's sitting at 6430 to 6400. Okay, and that would also be our support. So this would also equal our support. All right, and then let's go over to our 12 hour. All right, our 12 hour. So our 12 hour is going to give us, there's our, look, so our 12 hour resistance is going to be at 6707. We're sitting on support, nothing else there. So we're just going to list our 12 hour resistance. So 5 will be 12 hour. Is it 6700? And then I would put that we're sitting on support, but our next support below would be, so then the 7 MA sitting on it at, what is it, sitting on support at 64, what is that, 6482. 6482, and then I would put the next support below would be the 30 MA, and that is at 6380. All right. All right, support below. All right, so there's my support. Oh, Jesus Christ. There we go, below. All right. All right, so let's run down to our the hell. Oh, get off there. There we go. Okay, nothing doesn't help me. Nothing here. 6 hour. 6 hour bullish cross. So we had a bullish cross on the 6 hour. All right, so the 6 hour, 6 is a 6 hour bullish, 7 and 30, 7 and 30. Now, when I look at these crosses right here, I like them, for them to be more bullish for me, I like them to be swooping up, right? I like for them to be swooping up. But that's one thing I've noticed of watching these crosses is if I feel they're moving in a lateral and or upward position, I actually like to play them a little more than like when they're reverse against the price. So when they're reversing against the price, unless they're coming down into the price and they're pushing the price down, I prefer if these are pushing up. So I prefer if this 7 was coming from underneath like it did here. See how the 7 came from underneath and then it kicked the price up and it just kept running up rather than the 7 kicking over like this. This is a little more weak for me when I look at this action. I don't see anything else. Sorry. Topside resistance 67. So our topside resistance here is 67.20. And our support is going to be 63.80. All right. And the last one we'll run down to the 4 hour. All right, so here's the issue with the 4 hour. I mean, the 4 hour. This is bullish. So this is a bullish harami right here with all these crosses. Look at all these crosses right here. So this is falling down into multiple crosses, right? So look, you had one bullish cross. You're going to have a second bullish cross. This is going to create a super cross action. You did have a cross on the price with the 7 and 10. So that didn't, the 10 and 20, so that did nothing. Remember, when it crosses on the price, it kind of negates the action. But here you have another bullish cross coming. This is a bullish setup, a candle setup that's still got 2 hours to play out. If this closes out like this in 2 hours, this will be a bullish setup for another possible cross upwards, or one more move up. Okay, so that's how this is playing out. So you just got to watch this candle setup. So you got to watch the 4 hour. So last one will be 7... So watch the 4 hour setup for a bullish harami, right? Let's double check that. Just want to confirm. Give me 1 second here. Just want to double confirm this. Nope, I lied. Bearish harami. Bearish harami. Got it. Yep. Okay. All right, Chon.
Yeah.
All
seems
right.
to fit.
Yeah, it seems to fit. All right, let's see what Chon's got. So now I ran through that. Okay, there you go, buddy. What do you got for us?
Yeah, just a couple things.
He's got Coinbase up. Commie bastard, you imperialist monster. Oh, he's been converted to the man, people. Send money. Oh, I want you to know he's sitting in a three-piece suit with his loafers on right now. He's smoking a cigar, leaning back in his big leather chair, going,
Oh my God. Well, listen, I cut my teeth in Coinbase. Actually, it was GDAX I cut my teeth in. But I wanted to mention a couple things that I'm seeing that are kind of bullish. I want to point out a couple. I watched. It's really sad. This is very sad of me to say, but I watched this friggin' order book and this friggin' depth chart for most of the winter. Trying to study it and trying to see patterns and trying to see where the money is parked, trying to see if I can tell if we're in a bearish sense or a bullish sense, trying to see where these EMAs here. Now, one of the main reasons why I use my EMA 12 and 26 is because I was so used to using it when I was on GDAX, and I'm just used to seeing what the price action looks like while our EMAs dance. And I'm used to seeing when areas are bought or areas are oversold, and because the spacing of their maximum point sometimes is kind of in the same area there. So I know in an area when the spread of our EMAs is quite extreme on a bearish scenario here, and one that's on a bullish. And I also know how they act as support and resistances. So what we're looking here is a few things that I want to kind of make note of. If I can get this steady here. So we had our bear cross here back on August 6th and have been doing so ever since. And our sideways price action has brought our overlay EMA 12 pretty much to a straight line here. Now, as we look at each individual candle, I'm on the daily chart here. We were able to close above, then we weren't able to close above. Then we were rejected from our 12, and then we were really rejected from our 12. We were able to close just above, and then we had our major bull candle where we actually broke through both EMAs with our wick, but actually closed below both once again. And then yesterday, we actually closed above once again. So are we going to expect? Oh God, Smithers.
I'm Smithers.
Excellent.
Oh, that's how I picture you right now.
Release the hounds with bees on me. Listen, nuclear power is a living. So listen, the reason I bring this up, and I'll be very quick here, is that I like the fact that the EMA 12 is acting as support currently here. We closed above it yesterday. We're barely holding it today. And if we can, I want to see our next resistance EMA 26 to be our next battlefield here. We're still bearishly crossed here. There's nothing that's bullish yet, except the fact that we're holding support. And the last thing I want to bring up on this before Vamp loses his mind on me is that I just want to bring up the depth chart here. And again, this basically represents, a lot of people look at the depth charts, and I know different exchanges visually show the depth chart very differently. But what this really represents is where the money is parked. So these are people, I'll use the red here. These are people here that we would kind of call on the ask. They basically already currently own Bitcoin and they want to sell. So they already have their sells already stacked up from around where we are now, 6,500, kind of all the way up to around 7,000. And then it kind of steps up from there and goes all the way up to about 7,500. But we see how laddered we are, all the way down where people already have these buy orders who don't own Bitcoin, but are very comfortable to buy it at lower prices. And look how staircase we are, literally down at $2,500. And it's so visually, like, these are like the stairs, the rise and the run is so apparent here. So this is where the market is. This is where the money is parked. And this tells me, at least, that all the money that's currently in the market, at least in Coinbase Pro, is parked at much lower Bitcoin levels, because that's what the expectation is. That's what the market is feeling, that, hey, man, we can buy this stuff a lot cheaper if we just hold on. And I'm going to park my money down there, and maybe I can catch a quick falling knife, or just that's where we're going, and I'll probably adjust accordingly. Because I remember we had a huge wall at like 7,000, or maybe it was 6,000 the first time we actually breached it. And when we breached it again, there was so much money I saw that was just taken off the table. And so that's why I wanted to bring this, because to me, again, all exchanges will probably show something kind of similar to this, where a lot of the money is parked very low. Now, I wanted to bring up a correlation between Litecoin and Bitcoin, and Vamp has talked a lot about, Litecoin kind of way in terms of, is it telling us the story about where Bitcoin is going, and is it just kind of a month or two ahead of the action here? And what we've been watching here, we see Litecoin's much more bearish, because we see how wide our Bollingers still are on Litecoin compared to Bitcoin.
Look at how close it is to the 200 MA.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting down there. I mean, my TD is kind of hiding that. But yeah, we're getting down there. And that's a major support line. That's a major support line coinciding with our lower Bollinger, like right at the same time there. So we see where we are in terms of where it is in Litecoin. It's at 38, and we're at 56. And we see Bitcoin's at 64, and it's 200 MA on the weekly is all the way down to $2,700 and rising. So we see that Bitcoin has held up better in its unwind, but maybe Litecoin is telling us, hey, this is where going. And it seems like I'll point out two EMAs real quick here. We have our MA7, which is our blue line right here, and our EMA 12, both acting as the major resistance that wicked out our candle so far this week. Now, this week, we're, 4 days into the week. We opened the week at 64.85. We're currently at 65.03. So $18 up in 4 days.
Yes.
Not too shabby.
Great success. Great success.
It's still green. It's still green. But look at this. After the entire week here, we have no body in the candle. With 3 days to go, we have zero body in our candle right here. So again, the indecision continues, but we just kind of see when we pop bullish in July with Bitcoin, we see how much bullish divergence, Bitcoin sucked out of the market with all the alts tanked, and Bitcoin rose and was able to get above the middle Bollinger, above a lot of these EMAs and MAs. When Litecoin had its bullish move in July, it made a few little farts here and wicked out on both of these bull candles. And ever since then, it's been bearish ever since. And the MA7 acted as very strong resistance here. Am I right? The MA7? Yes. MA7, resistance. So it currently acts as major resistance. And all of our MAs that are MA100 and whatnot, that would be our targets, our bull targets, are right around $70 here. And our sevens obviously falling and acting as resistance. But is Litecoin telling the story that if it sets up for a bear break, is that a kind of where Bitcoin's headed? And the reason I want to bring this up is because of how. Oh yeah. So all right. So Litecoin held 60 for a little bit, and then when it broke bearish at $60, this weekly candle wicked out right at around $55. Then we were able to come back up again to about $61, poker head above, before we came all the way down to about actually we hit $49 and came back up. I'm bringing this up because what if this is what's going to happen with Bitcoin? Just add a few zeros there, where if we do break bearish with Bitcoin, we're kind of basically touch $5,500. We're going to have a snapback back over six, barely. Maybe we touch $6,100. But then we really break bearish and come down to about $4,900 to $4,700 before recovering later in the week and kind of finding some stability right around $5,500. That plays out a pretty, I think, apt scenario for, I think, how the market would respond to Bitcoin breaking 6,000. I'm curious to see if this continues to play out, because if it does, then we can just kind of see really where Litecoin's going. And if the MA200 on the weekly, which I agree is a major support line, if we end up getting down there and testing it and touching it, interesting enough, corresponding with our lower BB, I might be looking for something longer term to happen with Bitcoin, probably farther down the road, where maybe the turnaround can happen if our weekly 200 is tested, held, and broken and whatnot. And lastly, I just want to bring up our TDs. We're on a red 3 on our weekly, and we'll probably be on a red count for quite some time, just because 1, 2, 3, we go 4 candles back where the TD sets up. We have to go a lot higher to break this pattern here. So we can still close almost up to 7,000 and still be in a red weekly count on the weekly. And Litecoin, we're actually a week ahead bearishly. We're on a 4 here. So that's interesting. Maybe Litecoin is saying that, hey, we're a full week ahead bearishly on Bitcoin, and it could be, maybe a sign of things to come.
Yeah, Litecoin definitely looks like it's weeks ahead, if not months ahead, in the particular pattern. When I look at that pattern, I see your green 2 and 3 on the left side of Bitcoin, right here. Yeah, so I see your So I see this number 2 and this number 3 right here on the weekly. And then when I look at this 2 and 3 setup over here on, this very similar structure, kind of had a little rising up into it, then the fallout. So Bitcoin looks like it's just in this area right here, to where see, look, this is under, the lines would be adjusted, of course, but it looks like Bitcoin is up here and got a long way to go down. This is why I say Litecoin. It clearly looks like the structure is very, very similar, just months ahead, if not 2 months. Now you count those candles out, so.
Yeah, and then you have to give the benefit of the doubt to Bitcoin. Just that's the bigger hold, so it kind of reacts slower. Litecoin is the quicker to kind of. If I have to shill my or sell out of my coins, Bitcoin's probably going to be the last one I'm going to sell. It's the alts first, and that's why we're seeing that with Litecoin.
Yeah, Brian, if you look up at the top left, you can see this one's Bitcoin right here. So this is the 1 week Bitcoin chart. And if you look at the top left right here, this chart, it says Litecoin. So these are two different charts correlating. So we can do this. You can put two separate charts on TradingView. You can even do a top and bottom. Okay, so one of the members just said, hey, the regional government announces opening the largest crypto mining farm in Russia. Listen, you know, it's not all about mining just Bitcoin, right? You don't just have to mine Bitcoin. There's a lot of other, the miners can be set up to mine a lot of other coins as they're moving forward. So there is a lot of money to be made in mining other coins, not just mining Bitcoin. Okay, so kind of so for my setup here. As for the mining thing, I feel that mining right now has become less profitable, right? But I don't feel that that mining is going away anytime soon. A few things. I think just like any industry that's out there, I feel that there's always the diversity, and people will always figure out a way to do something cheaper and to do it better. And I feel that there's a lot of that that's going on in the crypto community as a whole, right? I feel a lot of that is, a lot of people are really stepping up to the plate and doing a lot of really good out of the box thinking. They're going to regions in the world that are cheaper for power, that are more friendly, that are cold. Right, a lot of the mining facilities are, they're underground. The good ones, they're underground. They're in really cold places to alleviate all the heat. And I don't think mining's ever going to go away as long as there's cryptocurrency exists. And I don't think crypto's going anywhere. What is the Beast trading indicator? The Beast trading indicator is it's an indicator, and it's best seen on my 3-day chart. So if you go to my 3-day chart, right?
You're still on me.
Oh, sorry. Let me switch over to you, and let me switch over. All right. So if you go to my 3-day chart, the Beast indicator is an indicator that was put together by Until 1 Mil, and I actually like using it on Stamp better. I feel it is more accurate on Bitstamp. So I feel if you go over to Bitstamp, and I know I have a Bitstamp chart. Where's my Bitstamp chart? Load. Bitstamp. There it is. All right. Oh, there's my chart. All right. So let's bring this up. So here's my 3-day chart. So here is my 3-day. This is my 3-day long term. This is my long term. I got all my notes over here and everything like that. These are all my long term notes. So here is the 3-day Bitstamp chart, and I feel that the 3-day Bitstamp chart is the most accurate. I like using this for the B scalper. See, it calls the longs when they should be longs, right? And here you see this: call the short, call the long, call the long, call long. I have converted myself into being a swing trader. I don't like being a scalper. I feel there's way too much work involved in being a scalper. I feel you can scalp all day, and you can get wrecked on one damn trade. You work hard, you make $500 to $1,000 scalping your butt off all day long, and then you just make one trade, and by the time you're trying to set the stop loss up for that trade, you just get wrecked right out of that trade. And this is why I stopped scalping, and I more do longer trade setups. So the scalper here works amazing. It works on the 3-day, it works on the 12-hour, 6-hour, 1 hour. It was originally designed for the 3-minute and the 23-minute chart. So but I like using it over here a lot better. Here is the, oh, it doesn't work. There's a 12-hour chart of it. Right, you can see what it does. It just tells you when to go long and short. It is literally for scalping. It's all it's for. People, it is a scalping thing, and it just tells you when to go long and short, when to go long and short, and you should always use trailing stops on it. So that's all it is. It's just an indicator. It's for people who don't want to have to sit in front of a chart with 30 different moving averages and 12 different charts, and you might not have as much of an understanding of Bitcoin TA like the Chon, and you're not a superstar TA guy. This is basically trading for dummies, right? Look, pull long, woohoo, pull long, woohoo. This tells you, and you just set up trailing stop losses, and that's all you do. Pretty easy. All right. And next question. SEC released news that they will be reviewing the decision. Okay, so we just talked about that fast. One of the things about that I would like to talk about is why. If anybody read, I read, it was like, God, that thing was like 15 pages long. I read the whole thing. And here's what I read. This one gets rejected. Every single one of them got rejected for... every single one of them got rejected for manipulation and the marketplace being too small, right? And unless something has happened in the 24 hours where the market cap of Bitcoin has magically grown $1 trillion to $1 trillion, which it hasn't. We're stuck at 100 billion, 111 billion right now. Unless we magically have grown. So let me explain to you what the issue is, because the market is too small. So right now, with the market being so small, in a very small amount of people own a very large amount of Bitcoin. So the issue you have is that small amount of people can manipulate the market at their will, right? So that's what the issue is, and that's what the SEC doesn't like. Is it 70% of the Bitcoin is owned by... What is it? Somebody just put out something the other day. 70% of the Bitcoin is owned by what, like 12 people?
Yeah, it's like point something. It's like the Winklebosses, they count as one, and then you have there's like a couple guys, and then there's even the kind of the myth that Satoshi himself has like a few million, kind of somewhere maybe. But your point is valid that it's a small. I mean, it's all relatively speaking, but you can't compare
chart's up. Your
Bitcoin.
chart's up. Go ahead.
You can't compare Bitcoin to like the Wall Street capital markets. It's just so small. You mentioned we're right over 111, 112 billion. Okay. So there's 17 million Bitcoin out there right now. And most of that was bought and kind of still held kind of between 2010 and 2012, when the big original players who either just stumbled half-ass backwards into it somehow and bought a whole bunch of Bitcoin dirt cheap, $5-10 a piece. There's a lot of these coins that are lost forever, either on wallets where people have forgotten their keys, just hard drives that had Bitcoin on them that are now in landfills, and those circumstances there. So those will be lost forever and will never be recovered. And now we see our max supply, which will ever be about 21 million. But the way the math works is as we get closer to that, it's actually much harder to mine Bitcoin exponentially. So we'll get a lot closer to this, but the last million or so takes like 100 years the way it's set up. But the point is that we're back to about 210 and falling in overall market cap. So if Bitcoin has a little over 100, that means every other altcoin combined is only worth $100 billion. And when we peaked out, we were at like $700 billion. I mean, you talked about what it would be like for crypto to be closer to $1 trillion, and we were kind of on our way when the entire market peaked out at the beginning of the year. And just to think that we've lost over $500 billion in market valuation, that's the wreck. That's where the money's gone. And where the money is not is if you're a first timer getting into crypto, when do you kind of get back in? If you've been bloodied and beaten, you know, maybe that was your one chance as an investor. You had some hard-earned money. You bought your Ripple because CNBC said buy it at $3. You bought your Tron because the dude on said buy it at 1,000 Satoshi, and onward we've gone. What's scary to me is that if we break 100 billion in market cap on Bitcoin, then it will become a resistance, a valuation where it has been support pretty much all of 2018, all of 2018. So I want to hold over 100 billion. If we break 100 billion, then the news stories are Bitcoin has failed to hold 100 billion, and then we lose that, and that kind of puts in a whole new paradigm. What the actual value is. You know, this is a market where the market will tell you what your value is. And right now we're at 112 with Bitcoin, and then Ethereum, and we just drop way off, right? So how much more, you know, we talk about where Ethereum's at, and Ethereum could go a lot more bearish. Think about how Ripple has given up what 90%, I think, of its peak to peak. Peak bottom to peak top, and you think, oh, well, if it's given up 90%, 92%, how much lower could it possibly go? It could go down 99%, absolutely. And it had 40, no, it had more than that. It had like 200 billion at one point. It was insane. It was insanely mock cap. It's got 12 billion, and it's going to fall. Bitcoin crap. 9 billion. You know, these are valuations based on a market that doesn't exist anymore, and you don't think for a moment that these can't fall farther. You know, Monero was what, $800? Now it's $80. Anything that's over $100, like Dash, okay, there's no way. I don't even need to know the chart just to know that there's no way Dash is probably going to hold over $100 here. So it's all about Bitcoin. It will be the one major one surviving, but don't think for a second that your altcoin can't go lower. But in this, there'll be great buying opportunities. And as I said before, not all alts are created the same. If you look at a bunch of these, I remember a bunch of these were way farther back on the top 100 list. And as other ones ahead of them have fallen off, like Verge, like Siacoin, like BAT, Augur, other ones have slowly trickled higher, even though we're in a bearish scenario. They're still kind of hanging around there. So those will be ones to keep an eye on, because normally in a market, when you get new people coming in, the first thing they're kind of gonna go to is what are the big names in crypto? What are the top 20? They kind of start there. So if your coin is in that top 20, that gives you a better advantage to kind of ride a better bullish money flow wave, if we can find that overall stability and bullishness in Bitcoin. I want to mention one more thing real fast there. I'm just shocked by how much money flow is super concentrated right now, right at $6,400, $6,500 there. I got the VPFR showing where pretty much all of August, and even with our July pump, this actually shows kind of how weak our July pump was, because from July 20th to August 20th, this 24th here, this basically full 35-day cycle, by far and away, there's so much more money flow between $6,500 to $6,300 here, by far and away. So it shows you how little backing power our July pump had into it. And then it shows for some reason how supportive the 65 is, which kind of tells you that if we actually were to break bearish from it, it would be a major resistance line if we were ever trying to come back up, and that's quite notable. You would think the longer you actually spend in a specific time zone, a price support, that you're creating an accumulation zone. You're creating a dispersion of Bitcoin, which should act as more of a building a stable base. But these crazy wicks and these crazy dumps and these volumes out of nowhere, it's not giving you that kind of organic money flow that you'd want to see in a healthy market. It looks manipulated. It looks like big money is doing things to kind of do whatever it wants. And at some point, the real big money is come in until they can find Bitcoin for a lot cheaper. You know, you ask yourself, you know, if you were a whale, if you were a big money bags, if you had $1 billion and put it all into Bitcoin, would you do it all now? or wouldn't you want to get more bang for your buck? So I think a lot of big money still remains on the sidelines. And I think kind of what we're seeing now, and anything that goes bullish is going to be extremely suspect because it gets sold into, and until we see that trend change, any bull green candle, the length and the longevity of that need to be suspect. Mostly based on what we've seen. We break bullish and we get sold into, profits taken, and there's no faith.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we're at now. Markets need faith.
Yeah. So so really quick, just one point that was brought up. I saw a tweet today, and we'll kind of talk about this for just 1 second. Is if you look back, that last year September was the takeoff point for crypto. Right, so I mean, this is really, it was, there was actually, if you want to go back, it was really July. So, and then before that, I mean, but July, I think was July and September where it really got all the attention. From then on, probably that third quarter of last year was just one massive moon to the sky. Now, I feel that a lot of people bought back then also, and there's a lot of coin that's being held in this range, in this, $2,000 to $5,000 range. There's a lot of people have a lot of coin that was purchased back then. A lot, especially down here in the 2,000 range. A bunch up here in the 4,800, 4,700 range. But I think one of the things is, the marketplace to buy a $2,000 Bitcoin back in July of last year, or a $3,700 Bitcoin in September, is a lot different than buying a $6,000 Bitcoin today. A lot of people think that the market will take off again. I am skeptical of that. I think the only way that it would take off like that would be with an ETF announcement. That's something we can all look forward to. If it does happen, that's great. Since we're in, a lot of us will be the ones to take advantage of that. But when I do look at this chart, it's hard not to see this kind of descending, just like Chonis showed earlier on his chart, this descending channel right here. Right, so you've got this descending channel, and as this channel breaks lower and lower, this channel is meant to break. Right, this descending channel is actually meant to break all the way down, and this is kind of where our targets are. This is where we'd like to see the real test of Bitcoin before we gave it the thumbs up approval to rally with legitimacy, right? To say, okay, 4,700, 4,800, let's do this, let's go. This is affordable. Alts at that point, a lot of them will be wiped out and to zero or be delisted, or they'll be super affordable, and the good ones you'll be able to pick up for a dime a dozen, and then we'll all be able to make some pretty good money on them. That being said, I still am of the mindset that we have one last drop to go. I still feel that we have another drop to go. We're just banging around in this channel. If this looks like anything to me, ABC, it's hard to get away from this. And I had this chart the other day. I showed it. It was in our members area, and nothing's changed. I don't think we've changed anything at all. A, B, C, right? A, B, C, A, B, C. I don't see anything changing here with these. A, B, C. There's nothing that's that. All right. You got anything else for us, buddy? Chon?
Yeah. I could bring up some more bearish scenarios.
Yeah, go for it.
I think we should leave it. Well, I mean, it's just so I was having this talk with Cheds earlier about, and there was a little debate on Twitter about, can you have a Head and Shoulders at any time in a chart, or does a real Head and Shoulders have to only happen at the end of an uptrend? And what he basically said, according to this guy Nissen, is this giant textbook he's reading, but it basically said that it can happen at any time. And what he means by that is a Head and Shoulders can still also be a continuation pattern where you are just kind of playing it out, and then they can just continue. And the continuation basically is our bearish pattern here. And if we are to consider some sort of a head and shoulders, and frankly, this is pretty defined now after yesterday's wick out. We've given ourselves a pretty nice right shoulder now, where prior to that it was a little clunky, but it's actually is very clean. And the cleaner it looks, and we saw a very clean inverse head and shoulders back in June. This is a very clean looking one here. And if you take your baseline there, if you take your neckline, and you take your head and you do your hokey pokey, then basically what that puts in is exactly kind of some of the bearish scenarios that we've been playing out, as to where we could go if we do break bearish. Now, first of all, we have to establish where our neckline is going to be, and I'm at kind of two minds here. There's a lot of, again, all of our price history I just mentioned between 63 and 65, even though we're kind of wicked out a little bit lower, down to was it 57 or so, and then 58 or so. So there's a couple $100 there of room to play in terms of our downside targets. So that still puts us kind of one or two places here. Rather kind of drop another $2,600, okay, which could put us somewhere in this 32 to 42 range, or we go a little bit bullish and kind of step all the way down here. I guess I had some fib levels too as well. But my point is that in charting, you're not going to find your absolute perfect chart, the perfect angles, or at least very rarely. But to see a pattern begin to emerge that's pretty freaking clear, and puts its bearish targets right in an area where we would expect there to be major support, right at our 5K level to potentially as low as 47 to $4,500, makes this notable and something to keep an eye on. And because of that, I think this can be in play until proven otherwise. The way you would know is we have to have another neckline test. So we got to test literally 6K to 5,900 again. Okay, and we'll probably find a little initial support there because of how it's held 1, 2, 3, 4 times so far, and even back here on our bear wick in February. So that's the point. That's our failsafe. If we break 57 and change, then our neckline break of our head and shoulders can be in play, and it's not a rational thing to kind of play that if that's the case, because that coincides exactly with another test of 6K, which would complete fully our right shoulder. And then we're kind of off to the races to see how this plays out. And because of all of our sideways action, I'd be surprised if we kind of stagger our way down. I expect the volatility and the violence. If there was a VIX on Bitcoin, I would expect it to spike if we did break our neckline.
Yeah, let me pull up a chart. We have a chart that we were sharing over in the members area. I got a couple messages I need to answer from everybody. Let me go find this chart. Where are you? Where are you? There it is right there. All right, so that thing is just not that big. All right, so if you take a look at the head and shoulders, here's kind of this is called a downward sloping neckline, right? You see this downward sloping neckline. This is kind of what... This is kind of what we see. So the right shoulder's higher, left shoulder's lower. So your right shoulder's higher, and then you kind of get the sloping action on the back side. If you kind of follow your neckline along, that's kind of where you're looking for your next particular touchdown. So if you want to kind of follow that neckline down there, you want to follow that neckline. Show us where that neckline goes, buddy.
Yeah, I found it. This was a tweet I put out several days ago, and I kind of now this was before our right shoulder had formed now, but the neckline still remains valid, and I fibbed it down based on a 1-to-1 ratio of our 8,500 to our neckline. And these are my kind of targets where I feel as we fall, break bearish, if this is a true head and shoulders, this plays out all along the way. And we see, I give us kind of we have our upper neckline bear target zone, and we have our lower neckline bear target zone. And that coincides with using our neckline break around 6,200 to as low as really $5,700 there. But again, there's obviously going to be a lot of history happening in between these areas here. But I believe this represents, and this also corresponds with previous areas of price support in history on our way up. You know, the 56, the 53, of course, the 5,000, the 4,500 range, and of course the 4,000 range, and really, of course, the 3,350 range, which is, if you look back in the price chart of history, there was a lot of time spent in that range there. So this is how this head and shoulders will play out if the neckline is broken. And we still have potentially, because this is the daily chart, we could ride this out pretty much into September, you know, kind of slowly going bearish with a wick here, a wick there. Because we've held so long, I'm almost kind of, it's like a death throes. It's like when an alligator kind of takes you and brings you down under. It brings you through this like death spin, and it takes some time for the market to eventually capitulate. But when it does, it'll be pretty fierce drop, but it's going to fight, and I think we're kind of seeing that now, and that's why these wicks I think are just kind of the beginning of these major price volatility moves. And this is kind of the market we're in right now. And I see this as two markets now. Everything above 6,000, or at least our, let's say our February lows, everything above there, more or less, are June lows. There's a story here. If we start breaking this area here, then everything that's been support, everything that has been our major bounce areas, all becomes major resistance now. And now we're looking at a whole new story of Bitcoin price action back in the 5,000 to 6,000 to 4,000 range, and we're talking a lot about price history we had back last August, a full year ago, of price action will be analyzed, because that's our last reference in this price area here, and that's fascinating. This full year has come around, and we're literally back to where we were a year ago, trying to analyze where our support and resistance layers can be if we break bearish. You know, but even if we break bullish, what does that even mean? Like, what does a few $100s bullish mean? Is it going to be sold off into? Is that a base to build on from? Like, that's where the faith comes in, and not a lot of that in this market right now.
Yeah, I don't have any hopes that this gets higher than the 6,900. The only way it gets higher than 6,900 is with the ETFs being announced, and or the what do you call it? ETFs, or with manipulation from the markets. But I don't even think I don't even think the exchanges can buy in enough to get it too high. Does the angle of the base of the shoulder have a predetermination on the way it may break, being a trend reversal pattern? Does the angle of the base, so the base, so if you take a look, so Ryan, that chart that I just pulled up a second ago, so that chart shows that the base of it can angle. You can't, you don't have to have a flat head and shoulders in order to make it a head and shoulders. So this doesn't have to be flat. This base can be sideways. It can be like this. This can go here, 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 and here, and still play out. This can go like this and play out.
Oh, you're still on me.
Oh, sorry. Oh, no, I think I'm on me.
There you are. No, you just did it. There you go.
Yeah, so you can be, you know, this base can play out just like this. So you can go here, 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 and here, and then it'll fall out. It doesn't have to be a completely flat plane. The important measurement is, and remember, this is an estimate. This is a you know, is to take the top of your peak and then pull it down to wherever this neckline is. Now you may be off, you know, 15, 20 points, 30 points, but that's kind of irrelevant in the scheme of the fall, because when you're talking about falling that far, which for here is 8,400 your top, 66K your bottom range, you're talking a 2,400 point fall. What is 50 points on a 2,400 point fall? If you are shorting that, you're going to come up on a really big win. Can I get a long at 6,500 to target 6,700? Right now, so that there you'd be wanting to watch your daily chart. So for me, I'd be wanting to watch my daily chart to really find that particular, because there's a couple bullish crosses, and I'll get off this chart. Let me pull back. Oh, where's my other? There's my other chart right there. So for me right now, you know, you have you have on the daily chart. Let me pull this daily chart up here. Oh man, my freaking bad charts. Unbelievable. All right, so on the daily chart, let's go over here. We'll use this chart. My computer's running slow. We gotta shut it down. On the daily chart, you have, let's pull this off here. So on the daily chart, you have down here right below you at 6,400, you have a 10 and 20 MA cross. So if that breaks, but then the issue is over here on the daily chart, you are setting yourself up for a bearish harami. So this is a bearish harami. This needs to break up over. So in order to invalidate this bearish candle that's being set up on the daily, you need to break this 65.81 mark. This would then help this to get out of this bearish slump. You go down to the 6 hour, and now this is what you're fighting right now. You're fighting time on this. This is a bearish harami on your 6 hour. I would wait till this plays out on the 6 hour candle before I would get into a long trade here. So before I was looking to pull long, I would wait 3 hours and 15 minutes, see how this closes out right here. If this does break this line, you're okay, you know, to get a little oomph out of this, you know, to go up to your resistance levels up here, the 6,700 range. But also this thing, if this stays bearish like this, I would be looking more apt to short this and pull this down. And that's what I would be looking for. So for me right now, who's in a short trade, I'm 3 hours from making a decision here on my short trade. You know, this is gonna my stop loss is right above here. So if this does stop me out, I will be looking to get back into this trade up at 6,700 and then short it again for this to come down. But my other issue is, I have a bunch of other indicators that are all going to tell me to go bullish on this. I've got a bunch of indicators that are going to say go bullish on this trade. So I am torn. I'm really torn here on my trades. You know, I'm not in a comfortable place to trade right now. I don't like it. I don't think we have a good trade setup, right? I don't think I have a good trade setup right now. And that's really all I got.
Did you mention the shorts earlier about how they're kind of getting overbought areas?
Yeah, so the shorts, the shorts are right back up there. Now, I truly feel that it is going to be harder to short snap these shorts. I feel they're just not going to go for it. There's not enough money right now that can get pumped into the market in order to snap the shorts. Right, I think you need another $100 million. $100 million is needed to snap the shorts, and I don't see it. Now, watch the tether. We warned everybody. We warned everybody right now to watch the tether pumps, watch the tether print. If you guys see another couple $100 million get printed in tether, you need to be really careful. You need to probably set your stop losses on your shorts really tight, because this will get flipped out over. And I'll bring up Chonis. Chonis got his short chart. Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, just real quick, and it's kind of crazy because when we had our big pump yesterday or the day before, and we saw we saw our liquidate, and we basically came down with a massive bearish engulfing over our previous day's really big green Maribozu candle. But it didn't last, and as the day progressed, the short started to load up again, and it was that was kind of that first test we saw where Bitcoin jumped $400 in 5 minutes, and a lot of people's stops got triggered, but it rattled, but it didn't crack, as you said, the short market. And pretty much they kind of loaded up ever since. And once we're getting, like, I kind of see this pattern here, at least these candles is bullish. And I'm looking for a test of all-time high and then a breakthrough to a new all-time high. And it just goes both ways. If Bitcoin drops in price, then the shorts will probably rise thinking that it's going to drop farther. If Bitcoin rises in price, then the shorts will probably kind of rise, basically adding to their current already short positions. So as you said, there's just not enough money to really kind of just break it all and throw it all to the edge, like we had in April, where we had shorts way over leveraged, and enough money and just a different market then to cause a real short squeeze. I just think it's too premature, as you said, to kind of talk about that, just because of where we are right now. And it seems to me that the shorts have been kind of, well, not yet, but there's a lot of contracts out now. So far the shorts feel pretty comfortable that if we go bullish, they'll load up, and if we go bearish, they'll load up. So this can continue. And even though it's notable that our RSI on our daily is over 70, we can see how high we can really get, which is over 80. So there's room to grow, even though this is very bullish, which is kind of very bearish for Bitcoin. The height of the stochastic, having it come down a little more here, allows it to reset a little bit and move higher. So all this is still saying there can go one pump higher, and our MACD is very bullish here and very spaced on our indicators here. So this is telling me we're getting actually a little overextended here by how spaced out here our MACD indicators are, and how high we are. But the RSI says we can go higher, and so does our histogram as well. Which reminds me, there was one more thing I wanted to bring up about Bitcoin on the histogram, which was where was that chart? Nope, not this one. Yeah, this one here. Boom. So we've been watching, this is our squeeze momentum, and this is the histogram I like to use. And what we see here is another kind of pattern where we have this, it's almost a symmetric triangle, but it's not. It's more of a descending wedge. And because of our last really red trough here, this can come into its apex, unfortunately, in a bearish tendency here. So as we get tighter here, I wouldn't be surprised if we continue to treat this as a resistance zone in terms of how bullish we can become, and then how bearish we can become here. And it's encouraging to see that we kind of have climbed our mountain here, or at least out of our trench, and we want to get to a little bullish peak here. So this is setting up for another little bullish pop of several days, but we've also seen where we actually almost did the same thing, and then we actually broke bearish once again here and here. So every time we do break bearish here, here, and here, we have a double peak, and we're just finishing up our first peak here. So this also is setting up for another bearish peak if history is going to repeat itself.
Yeah, I'm looking at the correlation. So the date on that peak was June 18th? The double peak?
Nope.
Go back to that double peak left. Yeah, that one.
Bearish or bullish?
Yeah, the bearish one.
So
June 18th.
July 9th,
June 18th.
and then July 5th, June. Oh, I mean.
Yep, that's it. June 18th. June 18th. Yep. So that was it. So if you look over on my chart over here, that was the exact place we're at right now. So if you look here, June 18th on my chart right here, you can see that this is this double peak. This is this double peak that's playing out right here. So this is it. This is that double peak. This is that double peak. So look, it looks like it goes green, double red, green, double red, green, double red on the Chonis chart. So this is kind of how I'm looking. Let's see how this puppy plays out. Guys, so I am still bearish unless this thing breaks up out again. So it needs to get up there and break out of my line. Until then, I am bearish. All I'll be doing is looking to load shorts. That's all I'll be doing. I will not be looking to go into a long trade here until we do break up and out of this. The line right here, like I said, my alarms are set. I do think we can get one more little peaky pop over here. I think it's possible to get one more little peaky pop and then drop out. So we did get this pop up right here. I do think we can get one more little peak, and then I think that'll be it, and then we'll fall out here. So I see 67.50 is my top. Over here, if we do get a run up, I see 67.50 would be my top, and then we would fall out. And that's it. Anything from you, buddy? You want to anything to say? Anything to finish up?
Yeah, I agree. I think that's where we're at. It just feels like, how long can we remain in this situation here? And listen, this could bring us into the end of August. Remember, a lot of people are like myself are at the beach sometimes, and this is that last 10-day stretch of the summer where a lot of people are not at their computers trading. They're kind of on a defensive stance, and we see this a lot in the market. We see this a lot in the stock market, where just people like to take the last week of August and kind of chill out, and that could set up for a very dynamic September. That's kind of what I'm looking for, and because of that, we might have several more days of this kind of wandering around in the mid sixes until everybody gets back from vacation, and it makes a new change and trend in the market direction there. So I agree with everything that Vamp was saying about these crosses here. These are the things I'm watching here, because with our sideways price action, we allowed our MAs and EMAs to kind of change their directions, and now we're setting up that next kind of round of crosses here, and we'll push here, a little push there. They can be bullish, they can be bearish, and with the tether pumps just kind of playing out there, we're once again subject to the larger powers that be, the larger bank accounts than I. So this is what we'll keep an eye on for sure.
Yep. All right, everybody. So thank you so much. Another great show. Awesome to have the Chone Man back from the beach. Hopefully he's got his sexy man tan rocking. So maybe we'll get him to do the next show topless. I know, so we can actually charge money. We'll charge we'll charge Verge. Right, we'll charge Verge to watch the show, right?
What Verge?
What's the porn coin? What's the porn coin?
No, Verge, yeah.
Verge, yeah. We'll charge Verge in order to watch the next show. So he's heard, yeah. He's not by Verge. God, I bought this Verge. It's all gone already. Weird. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Another great show for the Vamp, for the Chone. Come on over, join us at Until 1 Million. We have the until1mil.com. We have the Beast Scalper. We have awesome TA. We have awesome TA people. We have all kinds of channels. We have teaching, learning, calls. We have everything you need. Come on, join the winning team. Come to the dark side. For the Vamp, the Chone, we are out.
Peace.